Hi everyone, Rose here, and who is ready for some salt? Me, because I'm making this video. Things I dislike in books. This is not an exhaustive list. Perhaps down the line I might make a part 2, but for now, things to know. Number 1, I know I should have examples for every single bullet point that I make, but I don't. I know, shame on me, but I'm just too excited to apparently share the salt. I just know deep in my soul that I've come across these points, and hopefully you can just take my word for it that that is true. Anyways, point number 2 is that you are allowed to like the points that I make in this video. That's fine, just like I am allowed to not like the things that I'm about to point out that I don't like in books. Cool? Cool. All right. So the first category is characters. Number 1, when one or more of the main characters is a musician, and often this would generally mean that the entire story is going to be focused around the music industry and what have you. I don't know what it is, but I just find this a little bit dull. Not for me. Number 2, when the main character is a celebrity. Kind of goes into point 1, but anywho's. And usually when I mean celebrity, most of the time it's when they're an actor. This can work, but generally, meh. So I do have an example for this, an example of this not working for me, and that is Billy and Me by Giovanna Fletcher. Oh, not only did the celebrity aspect and therefore the celebrity world of it, it didn't work for me, nor did honestly the romance in it. I was not convinced of that, so the romance was poorly done. Now, an exception to this celebrity rule thing would be Check Please, the comic Check Please by Ngozi Ukazu. Now, one of the main characters in that is an athlete, a professional athlete, but that's more of like a side thing, and that doesn't come until the professional athlete aspect. It doesn't come until a little bit later in the story itself, so it's not a main focus, which I think that's perhaps what works the best for me. Number 3, the kind of self-insert type of characters. And for me, that generally means there isn't a lot to their personality. They're a bit of a blank slate, and therefore, for me, it just feels like the story and the plot just kind of happens to the character, which, bleh. And as well, this might be harsh to say, but to me, writing insert type characters it's kind of lazy writing. I don't have any issue seeing myself as a fully fleshed out character. So yeah. Number 4, underdeveloped main characters. I can usually give more of a pass to like side characters, but because I tend to care more about the characters over the plot, I really need my characters to be well developed. And I guess like a side note, if I can tell that a story is meant to be plot driven rather than character driven, then I'm cool with that. I hope that makes sense. Now, an example of this whole underdeveloped characters is from the book Star Wars Thrawn by Timothy Zahn. There were 3 main characters, and 2 of them, the entire time I just felt very indifferent about them. And point number 5, when a character's personality is solely defined by their sexuality, their race, their nationality, a very specific hobby that they do, whatever, y'all know those kind of characters and stories. The next category is writing style. Point number 1, telling and not showing. Oh, this gets on my nerves so much. You can tell me all day long how badass character A is, but if you don't show me that they're badass, then for me, that they're just gonna come across as hollow. And I feel like this is worse when like 2 characters are declaring their love for each other, but we've been told that they love each other, but we've never been shown the why they care and love each other. No. Point number 2, miscommunication, particularly when characters are constantly misinterpreting the dumbest shit. And on top of that, when the characters just won't talk to each other. It grinds on my nerves. Deep breaths. But it's also like especially irritating when adults are involved. Why? And miscommunication, it can be done right. I'm acknowledging that, of course. But to me, way too often, I feel like melodrama. I feel like miscommunication is just used as a technique to create melodrama. And I think that's also just another thing that it's just lazy. I'm sorry, it's lazy.
No!
Point number 3 is something very particular, and this just might be me, I don't know. But okay, character A, once their name has been established to character B, but then as the story continues on, and let's say you're in character B's head, and in their head, they still refer to character A as not their name, but some strange not strange, but just a specific identifier, such as the taller man. Or like weirdly, I've come across characters saying their nationality, like the Italian man or the blue-eyed man. And I don't know how else to describe it, but I find this writing style to be incredibly irritating and annoying.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Point number 4, writing from too many perspectives and then not going deep enough, developing those perspectives and those characters enough. You follow me? Cool. So for me, this can result in the reader just not getting to spend enough time in those perspectives, and therefore not enough time for me and any other reader to really care about all of the characters, when you can tell that the author wants you to care about all of these characters. And a great example of this is Ahsoka, Star Wars Ahsoka by E.K. Johnston. Point number 5, and okay, this is also something very specific. It's the overuse of italics. You're supposed to use italics to emphasize a point, to emphasize something, to show that this means something bigger, you know? But when you overuse it, it's like all meaning is just lost. What you are trying to show the reader that, hey, this is something very important, whatever that importance is, it just becomes nothing. And I will definitely drop a story if I see this happen. Number 6, okay, this is an alternating point of view, and there has been no clear signifier or distinction of when this is going to happen and how often this is going to happen. This too, I will drop a story so fast if you're just like, for no rhyme or reason, just switching point of views. Multiple point of views, that's totally fine. But if you're switching at seemingly random, any kind of tension, whatever that tension is, it's going to become null and void because you've lost it. I'm good, I'm fine. The next category is relationship dynamics. Point number 1, this is something that I have never liked and never will like, and that is trying to pass off abusive and toxic relationships and trying to paint it as romantic. This is especially aggravating and just concerning when it happens in YA novels, and just, I'm sure you know where I'm gonna go with this, because I do have a wonderful example for that, and that's Twilight. So I read the Twilight novels when I was a teenager. At the time, I didn't really see anything wrong with what was going on, but as an adult now, and I've had some life experience, I've gotten some knowledge in my brain, my frontal lobe and everything has fully developed. Problematic, okay? Bella and Edward, they have just a mutually toxic relationship. They're mutually emotionally abusive and manipulative towards each other. This, I feel like if you're familiar with Twilight, you know this. And the issue is the fact that the narrative and the story itself, it very much paints Bella and Edward as being romantic and perfectly fine, and that's what I have a problem with.
His infatuation with Bella is so weirdly obsessive that I don't really know how anyone can find it appealing. It makes more sense than Bella in universe because he's obsessed with her scent and he wants her blood, so he's like fighting his natural instincts or whatever, I get it. But even within the context of his affection, he's just so creepy, man. He stands outside of her house at night without moving and stares at her window. He sneaks into her bedroom to watch her sleep, and it's implied through a fleeting line in the first movie that he just just kind of follows her around when she's out and about doing her own thing. And those are all things he was doing before they were a couple. Yo, my guy, are you good?
Point number 2, and that is poorly done love triangles. I'm not against love triangles, but just when they're poorly done. So a couple, not book examples, but a couple examples of that is like when a second guy is thrown into the mix, from what you can tell, purely for melodrama, because it's incredibly clear that the girl is going to pick the first guy anyway. Or another flavor of this is when the girl, she is clearly going to choose the first guy who is toxic and abusive over the second guy, which the readers, and I guess not the second girl, I don't know, or second girl, I guess not the main girl, she can't tell that the second guy is actually really good and he'd be a great option, but because for whatever reason, and again this is like often in like YA, the girl thinks that she can fix the guy and it's all true love. Thanks, I hate it. So what I would love to see more often with love triangles is, for one thing, something I feel like is quite rare is to have 2 girls and a guy. It's usually like 2 guys and a girl. Why? And then I would also just love to see these 3 people just come together and just have a healthy polyamorous relationship. Let's just have more of that. Sometimes I feel like in some stories out there, I'm like, if y'all just got together, your problems would be solved and just move on. Number 3 is very short, and that is just when jealousy, and this kind of goes into the whole abusive thing, but whatever, we're gonna make it its own point. When jealousy and possessiveness is painted as being romantic.
Stop it. Get some help.
Point number 4, poorly developed romances, especially when I come to a point and I just have a varied reaction, something along the lines of, okay, whoa, where did this come from? And I have 3 examples for this, 3 book examples. One is Attachments by Rainbow Rowell. That was just stalking painted as romance, but okay, fam. Number 2 is The Wicked Cometh by Laura Carlin. And the 3rd example is Unmarriageable by Sonia Kamal. The final category is story setting / miscellaneous things I just didn't know how to categorize. Number 1, that is apocalyptic and dystopian story settings. Overall, these often just kind of feel like such a bummer to me, so a majority of the time I just pass on that. Point number 2, zombies. No. And I do actually have an example that's an exception to this rule of mine, and that would be the book called Warm Bodies by Isaac, is it Marion? I think that's how you pronounce his last name. Now, I did read this book several years ago, so I don't know how I would actually feel about it now overall, but at the time that I did read it, I didn't mind the zombie aspect, the very prominent zombie aspect, and the very prominent post-apocalyptic world that was present in the book. But yeah, most of the times, zombies, no. Number 3, the genre of Westerns. I have like negative interest in this genre, and I really do try my best to give things a shot, but oh my gosh, there are other genres and books in general that I have so much more interest in, so I'm gonna like put my time into those, and Westerns live on. I don't know. Okay, we're gonna move on. Point number 4 is ambiguous and open endings. I feel like I've read very few stories where I felt like this has worked, especially worked for moi. I tend to prefer more concrete endings, and I don't know, I suppose I generally don't like to be left guessing with stories. And that's fine. Okay. Point number 5 is stories that are just kind of sad and depressing for what seems to be just the sheer sake of making it sad and depressing. And I feel like it's easy to spot those kind of stories, and kind of rolling into this, something that's related to this is when an ending is just sad because the author seems to think that makes it cool and edgy. Man, why is just my right cheek getting whatever. Point number 6, and that is, okay, this is also a very specific thing for me. Poorly written child characters. Let me elaborate. To me, it's very clear when an author has little to no experience with babies, toddlers, and kids, or they just didn't do any kind of research into how babies, toddlers, and kids act and speak and whatnot. I've had past jobs. I've spent quite a lot of time with babies and toddlers and kids, and so I'm very familiar with how they live their life, you know. And so it really stands out to me when, for example, a kid that's supposed to be 6 years old in a story is coming across as like a 3-year-old. It's incredibly distracting, and a lot of times I will just DNF a story if I come across that. And that is it. Okay, let me know if you all actually have some examples for any of these bullet points that I listed out, any book examples that fits into those categories. Also, just let me know in the comments if any bullet points that I mentioned, if you're actually cool with it. We can have a discussion. Why did I do that? I don't know. We can have a discussion about this in the comments down below. Also, just know that in my description box, I always put links and resources to just things that are happening around the world, so definitely check that out. Yeah, that is it. Thank you all so much for watching. Please take care, everyone, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!